Welcome to day 8 of the NVC reset. Today we're going to talk about comparisons. So us comparing ourselves to other people can be such a loss of energy and so painful. And so let's look at that today. I got 5 ways of how you can deal with it. Also, by the way, if you haven't joined any of our live webinars, I'm going to put the link here again. I'd love to talk to you live. So if you haven't done it yet, check that out. All right, let's dive into it. And so first of all, let's look at what Marshall has to say about it. So Marshall quotes Dan Greenberg, who wrote a book that's called How to Make Yourself Feel Miserable. And this is all about comparison. And he gives an exercise in that book that you see two people, a man and a woman, who have the perfect measurements, I guess according to Western standards or something. And the idea is that you go and measure yourself and see how close you are to them to make yourself feel miserable, right? And then there's another chapter that's more about talents, and that describes a couple of people with what they did before they were 15. And then those people are like Mozart and Beethoven and I don't know, some other like wonder childs that you're supposed to compare yourself with. This is of course very exaggerated, but it just makes it very clear how miserable and insecure it can make us feel. The first tip that I have is like the most deep way of looking at it, which is to look at the needs that is behind this comparison. So comparison is one of the jackals, and jackals point to an unmet need, right? That's the whole principle of nonviolent communication. And so let's look at what is the need behind a comparison that you might have. And just for as an example, I'm single, so let's say that I see a couple, like a friend of mine is in a couple, and I'm comparing ourselves, right? I'm feeling this slight envy. Then I can just stay there and just feel miserable that I don't have a partner, right? But instead, I can also go a little bit deeper and see what is the need that is not met. Because when I find the abstract need, or maybe several needs, right? I can make steps to meet those needs. I can empower myself. I can see what is within my control. I cannot manifest a partner like today, if I would want one, but like I can take steps to meet those needs. So for example, it could be a need for closeness or a need for companionship, intimacy. It could be specific needs that are really linked to a relationship for you. So it can help to really connect with what that is. So if you like, think about something that you might compare yourself with. So just to give a couple of suggestions, it could be looking at colleagues and where they are, looking at other entrepreneurs maybe and where they are, looking at people with certain houses or cars or talents in singing or performing, art. Maybe you look at your parents, where they were at your age, when they were your age, and maybe they reached other things. Maybe they managed to get a house because those were different times. So hopefully that, well, I don't know, not hopefully, but in a way, hopefully that inspires something in you to compare yourself and see what that is about. And I want to make a little note there, because I noticed that sometimes the comparison is about wanting what someone else has. And sometimes it's about wanting to belong to a certain group that has certain things. So check for yourself whether that might be going on as well. Maybe you don't necessarily want a relationship, but you want the sense of belonging because according to society, we're supposed to have a relationship, right? That's the standard. Or we're supposed to have kids, or we're supposed to, own a house or anything like that. So check if that could be the case for you as well. Now, my second tip is a question that I sometimes ask myself when I'm just walking around and am doing chores or whatever, and I don't have time to sit down and look at the need. I just ask myself when I feel envious of someone and I am comparing myself, then I just ask myself, do you want their whole life? Right? So I kind of like tell myself that it's only fair that I can have what they have that I want, but then I also have to have everything else that they have and everything they don't have. So I get to have their partner, their family, their body, their job, their kids, everything. And somehow when I do that, and I'm curious if it works like that for you as well, I I never want it. I never want it because that's when I start to feel that, my soul is here for a certain purpose and I'm here to do that. And I want to do that, right? Like I don't want anybody else's life. That's just so clearly not mine when I start to really think about everything. So really put yourself in their shoes and be like, okay, do I want everything they have? Also the things they might not talk about, right? Their health problems, their addiction, like we don't always know, right? So curious to see if that works for you as well. Number three is to limit social media exposure, especially if you notice you're comparing yourself to people on social media. So you can be selective, first of all. Like I stopped following everyone on Instagram that is just about showing their good looks. Like some accounts are just about that, and I just completely stopped following those already years ago. I completely stopped watching Instagram altogether because it just doesn't bring me much, and it does bring me comparison. I do watch TikTok, and for this year, I decided I'm going to do that only in the weekend. So I want to even limit that a little bit, even though I don't, yeah, not comparing myself a lot there, but just still, I want to kind of limit it a little bit. So see for yourself, how is it working for you? Are you on Facebook a lot? Are you on, whatever platform you're on? How do you feel afterwards? You can also just stop following certain people that trigger you. Just remove some of the triggers, make it easy for yourself. And number four is that I think it's helpful to surround yourself with people that show you their, I'm going to call it behind the scenes, because we're just talked about social media, right? On social media, we show people the director's cut, let's say, right? The final, very polished version of ourselves. We don't show the behind the scenes, usually. Some people do, but usually we don't. So keep in mind that you might compare your behind the scenes with someone's director's cut, right? And so it can be helpful to surround yourself as a sort of compensation with people who show you their real self, who are willing and able to talk about how they're truly doing. And do that a lot. Have that regularly, at least once a week, that you have an exchange with someone that is real, where you can really show how you're really doing and that it's received with acceptance and vice versa. I think that can be very helpful in comparing ourselves less. And even if you compare yourself with that person, it can also be helpful to talk about that and just say, "Ooh, I notice I'm comparing myself to you, and I'm feeling a little insecure. I just want to share it. I don't need to hear anything. I just want to be honest about it," right? Something like that. And tip number five is to check back in with your inner child. We've done that before. If you haven't done that, I will put the link above because it can be very helpful with this to be very soft with your inner child and to kind of like symbolically, in your head, like hold their hand and just say something like, we're doing what is right for us. We're on a little journey here together to do what is right for us, to do what fits us, right? And that's all we can do. That's all we can control, and that is good for us to do that, right? To do what really fits us, and that somehow that us like can bring a little bit of togetherness of like, oh, you're together with someone on this adventure, and you're doing the best that you can. Now, let me know which of these touched something in you, which of these you're curious to try out. I'm curious to hear. And I will see you again tomorrow. We will look at making clear requests for yourself that fit with your needs. So that's going to be interesting. And if you want to support the channel, give this video a like. And I will see you again tomorrow. And I'm sending you lots of love. Oh, and if you want to check the live webinars, I'm going to put the link again and hopefully see you there. That will be fun.